Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to...
Why doesn't Greece have a king? The rise of the Hellenic Republic.
So, in 1832, the Turkish Ottoman Empire was forced to sign the Treaty of Constantinople, which ended the Greek War of Independence and created the Kingdom of Greece. But modern Greece is not a kingdom. So, how did today's Third Hellenic Republic acquire its current borders, and why did Greece decide to ditch its king? Well, the first king of Greece was actually not Greek. Instead, he was a Bavarian prince named Otto von Wittelsbach, who had been made Greece's monarch by the great powers that guaranteed its independence. He was also the first, but not the last Greek king, to be overthrown. Otto of Greece tried to rule as an absolute monarch, but he wasn't very good at it. So in 1844, his people forced him to sign a constitution which limited his power, but it didn't save Otto in the long run. His failure to make much headway in solving...
That's what never resonated to me. Like, how do you expect to be a king and keep your title if you're not going to be a good king? Because they're most likely going to want to keep you there if everyone is living and they're flourishing. But if you're bad, the first chance they get, they want you gone.
Yeah, and I think in one of the video, or I don't know if the video said or you made that comment that they said you can have like a dictatorship and have bad economy.
Yeah.
So
Like
example,
Donald Trump, how you gonna run for third term?
Yeah. Like in China, they have a dictatorship, but the economy is just booming. So people kind of sucking it up because it's okay.
It's whatever.
Yeah, but if your economy sucks and you are a dictator, well, guess what? Shit about to go down.
Greece's economic problems, combined with his inability to secure the monarchy by producing an heir, and Greece's humiliation at the hands of Britain, who stopped them from attacking the Turks during the Crimean War, all contributed to Otto's general lack of popularity. The king was also a Catholic, something that didn't sit well with a mostly Orthodox population. So, in 1862, while Otto was holidaying in the south of Greece, a coup took control of the capital, Athens, and at the urging of the great powers, the now former king didn't resist it. He returned to Bavaria aboard a British warship and died there 3 years later. But the coup, which created a new national assembly, didn't result in a republican government for Greece. Far from it. Quick side note for the purposes of this video, a republic is any state which lacks a monarch. It doesn't necessarily have to be a democracy, it just must not have a royal ruler. So, instead of instituting a republic, the assembly called a referendum to decide on a new king from a new dynasty for Greece. The Greek people overwhelmingly chose Alfred, Duke of Edinburgh, a son of Queen Victoria, to succeed Otto in the hopes of getting Britain to hand over the Ionian Islands to Greece. The islands have a majority Greek population. But Alfred, at the urging of his mother and at the insistence of the governments of all three great powers, said no. So instead, the assembly crowned King George I of the House of Glucksburg.
I wonder why he said no. He was too lazy for the job. He's like, fuck this shit.
Like Otto, George I wasn't born in Greece. He was a son of King Christian IX of Denmark.
And that would make the people like you.
I would think so.
That would be an easy win.
George I made it very clear to his people that he actually had an interest in them. He learnt Greek soon after arriving in the country in 1863, and he himself was a Lutheran, but he married an Orthodox Russian Grand Duchess and had their children raised in the Orthodox faith. He also willingly appointed Greek advisors and accepted a Greek constitution, while Otto had retained exclusively Bavarian ones until his constitution forced him to do otherwise. Subsequently, George I had a long and fairly prosperous reign. His reign also marks the beginning of Greek territorial expansion. As a gift to the new king, who was something of an Anglophile, Britain did decide to hand over the Ionian Islands to Greece, interestingly marking the first time in history that Britain voluntarily decolonized a territory. In 1877, Russia, along with a coalition of rebellious Ottoman Balkan tributaries, attacked and defeated the Ottoman Empire in yet another Russo-Turkish war. Greece didn't participate, though they very much wanted to, as the Ottomans still controlled most of the Greek-speaking world, not to mention that George I's sister had married the future Tsar Alexander III. They only didn't join in because of the interventions of both Britain and France. Still, at the Congress of Berlin in 1878, Greece laid claim to large chunks of Ottoman territory, and eventually they received Thessaly and part of Epirus on the mainland. Notably, just like in the Treaty of Constantinople, they didn't get Crete. But the Greeks of Crete weren't overly happy about that. They had already revolted against the Turks in 1841, 1858, and 1866, and in doing so had won some privileges, including the equality of Christian and Muslim worship on the island. On paper, anyway. Not being made a part of Greece once again only angered them further, and sporadic revolts in the 1880s kept tensions high between Greece and the Ottoman Empire. In 1897, the Cretans revolted once more, but this time Greece sent an army to support the rebels, beginning the Greco-Turkish War of 1897, also known in Greece as the Unfortunate War, or Black 97, which tells you something about how it went. It went badly for Greece. In just 32 days, Ottoman troops pushed the Greek army, commanded by their crown prince, Constantine, almost completely out of Thessaly, to the point that they threatened Athens. An armistice was signed between the two states, and the resulting peace treaty saw Greece lose land on the Turkish border and have to pay war reparations to the Ottomans. However, at the insistence of the great powers, Crete gained significant autonomy within the Ottoman Empire as the Cretan state the next year. Their loss to the Turks caused social upheaval in Greece, which culminated in the 1909 Gaudi coup. The coup eventually brought Eleftherios Venizelos, leader of the Greek Liberal Party, to power as Greece's prime minister in 1910. Venizelos reformed much of the Greek economy, as well as, importantly, both the army and navy, two things that came in handy in 1912. Why? Well, because in October of that year, the Kingdom of Montenegro declared war on the Ottoman Empire, and it was joined by its allies Bulgaria, Serbia, and Greece. This time around, the Greek army, 200,000 strong, decimated the Ottoman one, and they quickly advanced north into Ottoman territory. On November 6th, Greek forces took Thessaloniki, the largest Greek city,
He's
bar
like, don't drag me at the
Constantinople, ruled by
comments.
the Ottomans, which sounds great for the Greeks.
No, somebody probably already dragged and then. Never mind. No, he couldn't edit the video. Never mind.
And it was, with one caveat. After the city's capture, George I, Crown Prince Constantine,
Maybe he was triggered from a previous video.
Maybe.
and Venizelos all travelled there, but the king never left. In March 1913, shortly before the First Balkan War's conclusion, he was shot by a Greek socialist and died instantly. His son, the now King Constantine, proved to be a much less successful monarch than his father. He did lead Greece to victory against the Ottomans and then the Bulgarians in the Balkan Wars, in the process expanding Greece almost to her modern borders, but he came into conflict, the national schism, with the Prime Minister over Greek participation in World War I. Venizelos was pro-Entente and saw the war as an opportunity to take more Greek-inhabited land from the Ottomans. Constantine, having married the sister of Kaiser Wilhelm II, was sympathetic towards the Central Powers, though he wanted Greece to remain neutral in the war. For 3 years, Constantine withstood pressure from Venizelos and Britain and France to join the war on their side, but in 1917, the Russian Empire fell to revolution, and they had been the only Entente power that was willing to back Constantine remaining on the Greek throne if he wasn't going to join the war. So he was forced to abdicate and fled into exile with his eldest son, another George. Constantine's second son became King Alexander, and Greece entered the war. They mostly fought against the Ottomans and Bulgarians. Which, from a territorial standpoint, was a great idea. The Entente's victory in World War I saw Greece gain Western Thrace from Bulgaria and Eastern Thrace and Ionia from the Turks. Another side note, the name Ionia has nothing to do with the Ionian Islands, and in Greek, the names are distinct. Those last two gains never actually...
Okay, that's different names.
The
Wow.
Ionian Islands, and in Greek, the names are distinct.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're different. Wow. Okay, that's interesting fact.
Wow. 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 Yeah.
Those last two gains never actually
It's
ended
not
up
easy
becoming
to
Greek
English.
territory,
I
though.
wonder why.
because
One is like a proper name? Like go back?
No, these are two different names. Pronunciation is different. The letters used is different. Like, I guess translated to Latin alphabet, they look the same, but in Greek, it's different. As we saw, that video that you pronounce Greek letters a little bit differently than Latin.
the Ottoman Empire was in the process of collapsing and being replaced by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk's Republic of Turkey. Ataturk wasn't interested in keeping the old empire's treaty obligations, and so the Second Greco-Turkish War broke out over Eastern Thrace and Ionia in 1919. In 1920, King Alexander was attacked by a monkey and later died of sepsis. At roughly the same time, Venizelos was voted out as prime minister, and with his son
that's
dead...
how I thought what happened in White Lotus.
Yeah, you did say that.
I thought the monkeys were the ones that were gonna start the war, but everyone was like, "That's such a crazy thought. Like monkeys can't do that." But
Constantine briefly returned to the Greek throne. He lost it again in 1922 after an army revolt, the same year that Greece lost the war to Turkey, and Ataturk's republic kept Eastern Thrace and Ionia. This time, Constantine's eldest son did come to the throne as George II, but he didn't really rule the country. The monarchy
do you
itself had
think
become
it's
more...
harder to keep and maintain the islands, or is it easier to
What do you mean maintain the islands?
like to keep from another country taking it? I feel like it's so easy for another country to take your island.
I think islands is easy, especially smaller islands. I think it's easier to take
Because
out.
I'm shocked how Greece have those islands so close to the Turkish border.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know if they want to take the islands. I don't know if there's much going on there, because you take the island, you take the land from, or whatever you can get out of the land. If the islands are mostly like volcanic or rocky, what you gonna do there?
more and more unpopular after it at first refused to have Greece join World War I and then led it to defeat against Turkey. So in
So you're saying
1924,
if
it was
they
abolished.
discover raw minerals,
Yes, everybody would be taking these islands.
And the Second Hellenic Republic was proclaimed. But the Republic was unstable, and eventually a military dictatorship took power, and after a rigged plebiscite, it restored the monarchy and George II, who, in 1936, appointed a nationalist, authoritarian government, the 4th of August regime. It lasted until Germany, Italy, and Bulgaria occupied Greece in 1941 during World War II. George II led a government in exile from London for most of the war, but the Greek resistance back home was largely fought by the National Liberation Front, which was backed by the anti-monarchy Communist Party. When the king returned to Greece in 1944, the country was plunged into civil war between communist and royalist forces. By 1949, the royalists had won, saving the monarchy, though George II died and was succeeded by his brother Paul in 1947, the same year that the defeated Italians ceded the Dodecanese to Greece. Under Paul, Greece functioned democratically, albeit a bit dysfunctionally, but in 1964 he died and was succeeded by King Constantine II, the last Greek king. What finished him? Well, in April 1967, a group of middle-ranking officers staged a coup, and Constantine, who was commander-in-chief of the Greek military, made 2 errors that doomed the monarchy. 1, he failed to act decisively and order loyal troops to put down the coup out of fear of bloodshed, and 2, he then led a bungled counter-coup against an already entrenched military junta in December. Constantine was forced to flee the country, but the junta nominally retained the monarchy until 1973. In that year, a sham referendum was held on its abolition for a second time, which of course went in the junta's favour, and a third republic was proclaimed. A year later, the junta was forced out and democracy returned to Greece, but a new referendum confirmed that Constantine and the monarchy would not. Greece remains a democratic republic to this day. If you enjoyed this video, don't...
I wonder what is junta.
It seems like ISIS.
Like some sort of group?
Can I see the comments? Because if you like a gang gets rid of the monarchy, they essentially gonna control the state.
In 1920, King Alexander was attacked by a monkey and later died of septum. Continuous video without skipping a beat. Well, this was a side note. It wasn't the main event. I'm sure there's a video just about that, you know.
Wow.
So, you know, describing all the events, the monkey running up to him, biting the ear off, whatever. First king after the Ottoman rule was a man called Otto. I gotta appreciate the irony. I think the right question is, why did Greece have a king in the first place? The Greek revolutionaries did not revolt against the Ottomans just to see a random Bavarian royalist become the ruler of their free lands. That was a little interesting to me, that they just assigned the king, like fuck it, assign. I guess for protection they kind of just like, okay, fine. I don't know.
Because it comes with allies, no? Because it comes with like Britain.
Yeah, that's why I think they were like, okay, we get protection, like the allies. That's why they took it.
They kind of use it a way to negotiate the deals to secure the other islands on the left side.
Although the answer to the question becomes more obvious if you study the events as they unfolded after the breakout of the revolt, it's worth mentioning. Yeah, that was fair.
Hey guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord, and as always, share as much kindness as possible.